Yellow Lockers, welcome back to another video with me, Larissa. So today we're going to be going over my September budget and how I distribute out my refund check from my school. Let's get down to the monthly business and then we'll head on over to look at how I budget out my entire school loan refund for the entire trimester. That was a lot of entires. September was a decent-ish month. I actually did end up getting a new iPad. I know we've been talking about that for a long time, and I finally got her. So yeah. This is the keyboard too. I also got the pencil. So freaking nice. So much more helpful than my old one was. My mom and my grandma are angels, I swear. They've been putting aside money to do whatever I would like with it for my future, such as buying clinic stuff or paying for my board exams or just kind of whatever. And I had been telling them like, my iPad just keeps crashing, and they were like, well, just use the money for that and then you can be responsible for buying the equipment that you wanted us to get in the first place. I'm like, shoot, yeah. So I ended up getting that. It is working so much better. It is making my life so much easier. I'm so happy. So that's a tick off the list, but now I'm just saving up now for a Graston set instead. And I am so excited to get that because I'm using gua sha tools, which are great, but Graston is a different beast. And I am not using the gua sha tools correctly. I'm using them like a Graston tool. If you don't know what either of those are, feel free to Google it, but it's pretty much just like a muscle scraping technique. Let's get into it. So September, let's just go with the monthly breakdown. I did a 5-week budget for September. Consumables, I budgeted $750. I spent $716. So it kind of was on the steeper end of what I usually spend, but that's also why I account for that much too. That equals out to about $150 a week. And again, just for clarification, consumables means gas, groceries, any routine things that I buy over and over again. Other is more of like my fun money. I budget $250 for the month. I spent $150, which equals out to about $50 per week or so. Supplements, I budgeted out. This one's real weird, guys. I budgeted out $175. I only spent $140. I have usually maxed out my supplement budget, but I will say I did purchase a lot of my supplements, like my daily supplements, like my multivitamins and stuff. I did purchase those with my consumable budget. So technically I would have been over if I would have accounted for them in the actual supplement budget, but I didn't. So supplements such as like pre-workout and protein powder, that's what I spent my money on. But yeah, but I only spent $140, and I know that's a lot, but like supplements are freaking expensive. So I'm very excited about that. So that money I could just put aside. I do want to roll it over into next month's budget just because Lonnie New keeps coming out with hot fire flame stuff, and I have no control. I have to get stuff. So those were the expenses. Now to the savings portion of my goals. For my car loan, I wanted to put $40 towards that. I ended up putting $57. So that's exciting. It's dwindling down. And that doesn't include what I put aside for it in my trimester budget with my refund check. And then savings goal, my savings goal was $300. I ended up saving $335. So that was really exciting. I'm pumped about that one. Emergency fund, budgeted out $40 and again 57, so the same as like the car loan. Slush fund, I don't know why I keep forgetting about like my weekly contribution to my slush fund, which is the leftovers from my weekly budget of consumables and other goes to my slush fund. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. So in here I only put like $40, but that's incorrect. Like I usually try to save around 200-ish or so, and I ended up putting $263 towards my slush fund, which is sweet. All right, so like some big purchases I did make this month is my Hypervolt, my iPad, which I didn't pay for, my mom and grandma did, bless. And a tens unit wasn't expensive, but it was still 35 bucks. And I'm just gonna keep plugging away, getting all these student deals before I graduate, so I'm putting money aside for that into like a sinking fund for all of the things that I need. However, I'm kind of just using my slush fund as that, just because. I don't know. I'm using my slush fund for my graduation trip, and wherever that is, I would love for it to be Hawaii, New Zealand, but right now it's kind of just serving as the purpose of my stuff that I need for my future clinic. So my October, here we are. October is a 4-week budget, and consumables, $600 is the monthly, so again, still $150 a week. I mean, I've been spending pretty close to that amount every week, which signals to me that that's like a good amount. Plus, like, I commute to my internship every other day, and it just is more gas pretty much, and like I just have to fill up way more than I ever did when I was just going to class, and I even moved further away from my school, as we know, so my commute is no longer like 4 minutes, it's like 15, which isn't a big deal, but then my commute to my internship is like 25 to 30 minutes. So I am definitely filling up way more than I used to. My other budget, I was supposed to do this last month completely, well, kind of. I have decided to cut it down to $45 a week, so 180 bucks a month. I'm not really ever getting close to it as needed, and the stuff that I've been buying has been mainly books or just kind of random stuff that, I don't really need a bunch of random stuff though. So I've been spending not a lot, but I've been spending about 10 bucks on books a week, and I mean, I don't really use it for anything else. That extra money goes towards my savings, which is what I'm really trying to like put towards. So my supplements budget though, since I rolled over the supplements from the remainder of the supplements from last month, is now at $210. Woo! I'm so excited. So we'll see if I even get close to that. I am actually running low on a couple proteins. And those are just pricey. So I'm probably will get pretty dang close or exceed it. Who knows? So those are my expenses for the month that I'm thinking. My car loan, I'm budgeting 50 bucks towards. I'm gonna guess savings. I'm thinking about 350 for this month. Emergency 50, and my slush fund, I'm aiming to put about $200 in there. I increased those just because I'm covering a couple shifts this month for my one job, and then also I am back to teaching group fitness 1 time a week, so nothing wild. They were gonna do 2 times, and then I opened my mouth and said I might be leaving at the end of the year, which I totally am leaving at the end of the year, but Yeah, so they only gave me one class instead of two, but I can substitute when needed if I'm able to, which they have called me every week to sub, but I haven't been able to. That doesn't matter. Yes, so I am back to teaching group fitness on a weekly basis. I am so excited. So that is like a little bit more of an increase into my savings account because that is where the money is going to go. I really, really want to hit that $9,000 plus thing in my core savings by the time I graduate, and I really hope that's going to be the case. Oh, I also applied to a different job. I'm supposed to hear back from them this week or next. So we'll see how that goes. Even if you are doing school online currently in this situation, or you are back on campus, it is still important to budget, especially during these times when all this uncertainty is still happening. I wanted to again go through how I budget my trimesters, my terms at school. Like I said, my school runs in trimesters, so we have fall, winter, and summer. A lot of you that are doing their undergrad right now are only doing, typically fall and spring term, I think it's called. When I was an undergrad in budgeting, I only budgeted for the term without thinking what happens during the breaks, such as the January break or the J-term break or even summer break. And I would still be taking classes year round, so I would still have to be on campus, and I, for the most part, did not consider that in my budget at that time. So I just want to make sure that you guys are considering that, even if you don't think you are going to take summer or winter classes. I didn't think I was either, and I did for 4 years out of that, and it was very tight financially. I don't even know how I did it. I think I ended up borrowing money from my parents until I got my refund for that next term. Let's get into it. I'm going to show you what I use. I use a spreadsheet, and the best part about spreadsheets, or whatever budgeting method you use, you can just copy and paste it once you find something that works for you, and you can make just little adjustments here and there. So step 1 of compiling, figure out how many months and weeks your term is. For me, work in trimesters, my term is 4 months long, and I get a disbursement 3 times a year. For those that are in semesters, account for 6 months, because you're not going to have that summer, and if you're doing off-campus housing, you still got to pay that. What I like to do is add 1 more month onto that, or a few extra weeks onto that, just because our checks, or our refund checks, or however you're getting your funding, I get mine through loans, student loans, and I'm guessing that's the majority of you as well. I get that refund a couple weeks into the new term, so I always budget for a month or a couple weeks out. So as you can see here, I have weeks. There's 22 weeks that I budget for certain things, but majority of my budget deals with months. So I budget for 5 months, which gives me a little breathing room if need be. So once you figure that out, plug that in. Next, step 2 is what I do is, until I actually get the email that tells me how much I'm being refunded, I estimate. And I do know because I've already got the refund, but my refund student loan checks was almost 11 grand. So I plug that in here just so I know that that's how much I have to live off of for the next 5 months. Next, we do a category breakdown. So I like to have my little categories. Consumables, so that's my groceries, my gas, any regular item, even household items like cleaning supplies, or even your deodorant, soap, shampoo. That's all consumables. That's regularly consumed items. You can even put going out to eat as well. That's typically food. If it's food related, it comes out of my consumables budget. Other is like my fun money, my personal fun money. Like that's stuff that I don't necessarily need to have, but at the same time like love to have like spend on. So for me primarily, as I've stated before, it's books or a new playlist for my step rowers class, or just like something random like arts and crafts. I go to Hobby Lobby quite a bit. Just anything random like that that you don't necessarily need and don't consume often, but with like a lot of, I used to use when the movie theaters were open and I was going on a regular basis. That's what I would use that for. So any like fun stuff. Other. And next up, rent. If you pay rent, you got a budget for it. For me personally, I have a loan out on my car, and so I always like to make sure that I'm on top of that, and I have to make payments every month to it, but I just lump sum them so that my principal goes down, if that makes sense. We'll get into that. Car insurance. I have a car, so I have car insurance. I need to make sure that I'm budgeting for that because that's one of the things that I forgot about. And when that biannual bill came, I about had a heart attack. So, and I also like when I was budgeting not for like that extra month, it was deducted automatically and I overdrafted, and that was like the worst feeling ever. And I didn't get a notification that they were withdrawing it, so I couldn't be like, hold on, please wait. If you have automatic payments, like make sure you know when they're coming out of your account. Next up for me, I drink a lot of protein powders. I take quite a bit of supplements, my daily supplements such as like my protein powders, my pre-workout, my BCAAs, and all of that jazz. It's not necessary, but I do consume them quite a bit. I am a bodybuilder, so they supplement my gains. Next up, clothes. I think it's always smart to have a clothes budget, even if it's very minimal, just in case like you were to need something for an event or something. Like, I don't know, when I was in undergrad, my sorority, we would have like clothing orders every term, and it was so fun, and I really loved getting everything. And then plus we would even have like formal events too a couple times, and I would always want to get a dress. So whether that's a clothing, like preparing for like interviews even, now my clothing budget is mainly for gym clothes, let's be honest, but I also use it for clinic attire as well, or like business professional clothing that I need to invest in more. All right, and then we get into the subscriptions portions. So write out all your subscriptions. This is very important, especially if they are automatically deducted. And this way you can keep track of like stuff that you actually use and stuff that you don't really need anymore. So for me, that is Spotify, Apple, that's for like my phone storage. So it's $1, but it's like $1, but I need to like keep on that. Billy Razors is another one that I do. Amazon Prime, Microsoft Office, and my American Express annual fee, which sucks. I've called so many times to try to get that lifted and they just hate me, but it's worth it. All right, so once you have established what your categories are, now it's time to figure out how much everything is based on trimester, monthly, weekly, yearly, whatever you prefer. I like to do weekly for certain things, monthly for certain things, and for the whole term for certain things. So for me, to start off my consumables budget, I deduced after many years of totaling, figured out $150 for my consumables budget works well for me. I pretty much tap out of it on most weeks, and some weeks I have a little bit left over, but that's how you can tell like that it's at a good spot, is if you are using it, because that is the purpose for it. Or you're getting like very close to zero every week, not necessarily going over. I know that happens sometimes, but so what I do here is I take $150 and that's my weekly budget, and then I figure out how much that's gonna be for the term. You can do monthly if you'd like. I have it auto solved to where it will. For consumables and other, this is like the only bills that I do a weekly budget for and use like the 22 weeks of the term. So for that, I take 150 times 22 weeks, use whatever weeks you need it for, and that equals to my $3,300. And then I just divide that by 5 to get my monthly. Again, to get the trimester total amount, I take 150 times 22. Or for my other budget, I do the same thing. So I take $45 times 22 to equal $990 for the entire trimester. Next, we have rent. So that one's straightforward. Mine doesn't change. If you have utilities, that's also something to include in here. My rent and utilities are included all in one. And it's awesome and it's super cheap right now. I'm so happy about it. But if you do have a utilities, don't forget to make a category for that and estimate on average how much. Next, we have my car loan. Again, that's a set budget amount. Supplements, I spend about $175 a month, which I know is aggressive considering that's a lot, but I do like max it out every month. And there just would be no point in cutting it down. Clothes, I give myself about $200, give or take. It fluctuates trimester to trimester, but for me, $200 is good. I spent that immediately on gym clothes. So if I ever want to buy any other clothes, I take it out of my slush fund, which I explained earlier in this video. Or I can take it out of my other budget. So with these guys, I kind of want to explain why I have them kind of like boxed off. For these, Spotify, Apple, and Billy, I have an automatic payment to them. So that's very important for me because they need to go into a certain checking account that is deducted. And I highly recommend that just because if it is automatically deducted, you don't have to worry about putting in payments. So this goes into one of the checking accounts that I have it linked to, and I put the full $102.70 for the term in there. That way I don't have to worry about it. Easy peasy. Whereas these three, I like to put like the months that they are withdrawn. I could even do the days, but these go into a bucket in one of my savings accounts, and I titled that bucket subscriptions. So since they're not regularly withdrawn every month, I just put that in and save for that. And I also put like the yearly subscription or like the yearly fee that comes up on those due dates. And this trimester budget and the monthly budget is like the monthly breakdown of how much I need to save per month, but mainly I just use the trimester breakdown and put the $57 into my subscriptions bucket. We total up the entire trimester, put that here, so sum equals, but we sum all of this up and to get to this total. So this is how much I spend for an entire term, entire trimester. And then whatever is left over, so I take the refund total subtracted by the total expenses, and I put that much into my savings account, like my core savings account. So I put $675 to my core savings. And that is how I do my refund total. So hopefully that was helpful and not confusing. Yes, if you have any questions regarding that, please put them in the comment box below. I'd be happy to help explain, and maybe I'll do like a video on the questions if you have any. I'm sorry that this video was so long. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That would make me so happy. Also, it allows other people to find my channel a lot easier, so then I can also continue to help them with all their budgeting beginner needs. And subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you're notified when I upload new videos such as this one. Remember to respect others, respect yourself, and do something amazing with your day. Thanks, bye!